Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tutorial Tuesday. In today's video, we're going to be playing with the metallic gelatos, which are beautiful, vibrant, very shimmery. And I have 3 different techniques that you can use the metallic gelatos with. So I'm going to show you that. But before we go ahead and start on the project, here's what you'll need to complete today's card. As usual, I'm going to be working on my craft mat, and we'll need a heat tool. We'll need these 3 colors of gelatos: the purple, the gold, and the coral, white embossing powder, Versamark ink pad, and a black ink pad. I'm choosing to use the Memento Tuxedo Black. You might also want to use a brayer, a pair of scissors, a spray bottle with some water in it. For our main stamping, we'll be using 2 background stamps by Penny Black. This one is a damask pattern, and this one is Flower Flourish. I'm also going to be using sentiment stamps, and because I'm making 2 cards, I will do one in French and one in English, so you can use any of the sentiment stamps that you have to your liking. We'll also use some Glubers strips. These are, they call them Uber Big Glue strips, and we're going to make some kind of a ribbon treatment with that. If you want to make both cards that I'll be demoing today, you're going to need to double up on these pieces of cardstock. So we have a piece of purple cardstock that measures 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. A small strip of white cardstock that measures 5/8 by 3 7/8. For our main image, this piece measures 5.5 by 8.5. This is just so that it gives us a bigger surface to stamp our main image, but in reality we're going to cut everything down after we stamp. And then we have our card base that measures 4 1/4 by 11 inches that I have folded at the 5.5 inch mark. And lastly, we have a 14-inch piece of ribbon, either white or off-white. It could be silk, it could be seam binding, or even satin. The first technique I'm going to show you is how to dye your ribbon so that it matches exactly the main image of your card. And I found out that with the gelatos, you can dye pretty much any type of ribbon that you have. This is seam binding. It's very close to a silk ribbon. And I've also done one in satin, which I'm going to show you right after. But it's very simple. You just simply take your gelato and you start coloring on your ribbon. This one's a little tough because my ribbon is kind of crinkly because it was all wrapped up around a cardstock. But I'm just going to color it, and I think I'm going to use a paper towel just so it stays better in place. So I'm just going to color it like that. I'm not being too precise because you can do more than one application. And then I'm going to take a water spritzer, and I'm going to spritz water all over this. And the color is going to spread out all over your ribbon. You can even help it with your fingers if you want. Gelatos will clean right off your fingers, so it's not a big deal. And because the gelato is so creamy, it really soaks into the ribbon, and I just love it. And I'm just going to heat set it with the heat tool. Let me just put this on a piece of paper towel so that it doesn't run all over the place. You'll see the shimmer really shows through the ribbon, which adds another interest to your project. There we go. And I like my ribbons uneven. That's just my preference, but if you feel that you're missing some color here and there, or you want a more unified look, go ahead and give it another coat of gelato. But basically my ribbon is ready to use, and as you can see, there's a lot of shimmer onto this. So I'm going to set this aside to finish drying because we're not going to use it right away. And I want to show you my other ribbon that I tinted with, again, the purple gelato. This time is a satin ribbon. And look how pretty it turned out. I really like it. And again, my coloring or tinting is not even, and this is how I prefer it. Now, one tip that I can give you if you're using satin, there's always a shiny side and a more of a rougher texture side to a satin ribbon, unless you have a ribbon that's shiny on both sides. But mine has a rough texture on the other side, so I use that side to color with my gelato, and it gripped it even more. It transferred onto the shiny side, so I didn't have to color the shiny side. And then I dried it with my heat tool, and this is what it gave me. You can use any white or off-white ribbon to do that, and that way you know that you always have something that'll match the image on your card. So that's a benefit that I really like. So I'm going to put all my ribbons aside, and now we're going to work on the main image. I'm going to show you how to stamp with the gelatos. For this, I'm using the damask pattern, and I'm bringing one of my 5.5 by 8.5 piece of cardstock, and I'm just going to turn over the stamp like this. And if you are working on your craft mat, it's great because it's not going to go anywhere, and we're actually going to stamp this way. We're going to bring our paper to the stamp. So I've got the purple, the gold, and the coral, and I'm going to start coloring different parts of my stamp. What I recommend is that you start with the lightest color, but I kind of have to look at my stamp from the side to see which areas I have actually targeted. So I'm just going to do this really quickly. And they are so creamy. They really give you good coverage. I just love these stamps. So I'm going to take the water spritzer, and I'm just going to very lightly, and almost kind of like from afar. You don't want the water to bead too much on your stamp. And now I'm going to take the paper and put it over the stamp, take the brayer and brayer this to make sure that I'm covering all of the areas of the stamp. And ta-da! Look how pretty that is. Now this is still wet, and you see like globs of color. This will even out once it is dry. So my piece is dry, and I just wanted to show you how shimmery it is. Look how gorgeous that is. So what I'm going to do now with this piece is I'm going to cut it down to 3 5/8 by 4 7/8. So here's my piece cut down to size, and I'm going to put this aside and I'll work on the sentiment. And I'm going to take the Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and I will stamp this right in the middle of the strip, like so. So I'm going to flip my sentiment this way, and we'll be using the big glue strips from the Glue Burst strip by Cosmo Cricket. And this is how they come. I removed the strip from the sheet here. I'm going to expose the sticky side. Put the strip to the bottom, on the bottom side, on the reverse bottom of my sentiment. So I'm going to glue that right over it. And these are super sticky. Because we're going to be making a ruffle with our beautiful ribbon. So I'm going to bring back the ribbon, and now I will expose the adhesive. You can kind of see it there. There you go. And we're going to start ruffling. So I'm going to cut it a little bit longer. like this. And I'll just add a little piece of that Gluber line just to finish off the end here. So I'm just going to press and release. So now I've got a nice adhesive, and I can fold that piece back right here. I'm going to do the same on the other side. So there's a cute ruffled sentiment. Now I'm going to put the rest of the card together. And then we're going to add our sentiment across, like so, on foam dots or foam squares. And I'm just going to put this towards the bottom of the card, like so. Look how pretty that ruffle looks. I just love it. And when you move it, you can see the shimmer. It's a very soft, subtle background. It's great because it's a very busy stem, but we managed to make it look very subtle. For the next card, I'm going to use the Flower Flourish stamp, and I've got it prepped up on my stamp press by Fiskars, or you can use a large acrylic block if you have it. I'm going to turn it over and use the Versamark and ink up all of the stamp really, really well, because we're going to be embossing in white right over that. Perfect. And I'm going to take the other big piece of white cardstock that we have, and I'm just going to press it down. Okay, and I'm going to bring in just a piece of copy paper and my white embossing powder. This one is by Stampendous. And I will put the powder all over the design. And I want to heat set that with the heat tool. So now, as you can see, my piece is beautifully embossed in white, and I have the 3 colors of gelato, the same colors that we used, and I'm going to start coloring. And you just apply the color and you work it in with your fingers. Once we finish coloring, we're going to remove the color from the white part, and so the white part basically acts as a resist. And I'm going to switch colors. I'm going to work in my coral, and obviously the colors are going to be even more vibrant than in the other technique, because we're not diluting the colors with water. And as well, you can pretty much mix your colors. If I wanted to bring in the coral into the gold, I'd be able to walk it into the gold as well. Just be careful not to wet your paper underneath too much, but look how beautiful that is. Oh wow, I love this. And as you can see, I keep rolling back my the baby wipes, so that, because once it is it has been contaminated with color, it will transfer onto the other part. So you kind of want to change your baby wipe, not the whole baby wipe, but you know what I mean. You want to keep finding a clean area. Oh, I love this. Look how beautiful. Wow. Look how cool that is. Look how shiny this is. With the white embossing powder and the metallic of the gelato. Oh, I love it. So this piece again, I'm going to make sure that it is dry. I might zap it again just to make sure that everything is dry, that I didn't, you know, put more water than I wanted to from the baby wipe. And then I'm going to cut it down to size. Again, the dimension is 3 5/8 by 4 7/8. And I'll be right back. So I'm just putting the finishing touches on my second card, and I just wanted to show you behind what it looks like. I've made the ruffle with the large satin ribbon, which is a 1-inch ribbon, but because the ribbon is a thicker ribbon, I pleated like the other one, and I also added an extra glue burr line right over the pleated ribbon without removing the second sticky side because I didn't want it to interfere with the foam adhesive. And then I put some foam adhesive on top of the pleated side, and I've doubled up where I had just the cardstock just to make it even. So I'm just going to glue this down like this, and there we go. Look how shiny this is. Can you see the shimmer when I move the card? You could do this technique with the regular gelatos. It's just that with the metallics you have some type of shimmer. So I just added 2 pearls next to the sentiment right here, and I think it adds even more interest to the card. I love how the ribbon is a perfect match to the purple on our background, and that's one thing that is great about these gelatos, is that you can tint your ribbon the same color as your background. I just love it. Now I'm going to bring back the other card so you can see the difference in the background. So as you can see, this is a lot more subtle. Even though the stamp that we used is more detailed, it still looks quite subtle because of the technique that we use on this. So I decided to bring in a flourish right here. Have fun with your metallic gelatos. They're great. They're water soluble, but they're permanent when they dry. It's not necessarily restricted to art journalers or people that do canvases, because I have used those in the past on canvases, but as you can see, you can use them on your card projects or even your scrapbooking pages. So that was it for this week. Again, I want to show you the shimmer because mainly because I want to see it again. I just can't get over it. It's so gorgeous. Oh, I love it. Love the shine of this. I like the bling on the card. I mean, I would have preferred to have a pearl flourish, but I didn't have any on hand, and this was an afterthought. All this with gelato. So 3 techniques with the gelato. When you have the right tools, the possibilities are totally endless, and it may sound like a cliche, but it is so true. If you have any questions or comments, as usual, leave them below, and I will talk to you next week. Bye!